Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. In this edition, we'll be talking about the Tottenham Hotspur v Liverpool game, where the game has just finished. Spurs 3, Liverpool 6. Another absolutely crazy game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Of course, Ange Postecoglou said the other day, are you not entertained? I'll tell you what, we are seeing a number of goals at the moment. We're live on YouTube, we're live on X, Facebook and Twitch, so please do get involved. Your opinions are very important to us. We do have a number of opportunities to appear on the channel if you'd like. International fans, you could either submit a video to be involved in the Spurs Around the World videos. You can guest on the live post reaction shows with Barnaby Slater, who does the watch-alongs on this channel. And of course, you could be a panel member on the Spurs Chat podcast if you so wish. Please do send me an email, tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. As I said, every opinion counts, and it's very important that we get to hear yours. And of course, as we all know, there are some very, very different opinions out there. We will get 3 different opinions from 3 guests today. We need your help as well. We've been shortlisted for another award, the Sports Podcast Awards, this time 2025, for the best team podcast. So if you could vote for us, we'd really appreciate it. As I mentioned, Tottenham Hotspur 3, Liverpool 6, Maddison, Kulusevski and Solanke with Tottenham's goals, Diaz with a brace, McAllister, Szoboszlai and Mo Salah with a brace also. Tottenham Hotspur are 11th in the Premier League table right now. We have 23 points from 17 games. We are 8 points away from Nottingham Forest, who are sitting in the top 4. Of course, they are our next opponents. Heung-min Son, after the game just now, said, I'm very disappointed with the result and conceding 6 goals is really painful. And Postecoglou, after the game, said it was a difficult day for us, a painful result. Credit to Liverpool. They are in a great moment. It was a bridge too far for us. You could tell we were lacking a bit of energy and the challenges that we have. Later on in the press conference, he said, if you're saying that 10th means that I'm not doing a good job, and I maybe somehow should be uncomfortable, well, that is for others to judge. Now, I would say to Ange, we're actually 11th, not 10th. Now, let's introduce our 3 guests. Back with us is actor Ricky Norwood. Ricky, how are you?
I'm good, my friend. Always good to be on the pod, win, lose or draw. You know, we are always here to give some balance and to break it all down. I just want to say a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Feliz Navidad to everybody, all of you beautiful people around the world. Make sure you chuck a flag in the comments and let us know where you're from and let us know where you're celebrating and you know where you are listening to us around the world. And it's just great to be spending some time with not just you, Chris, and you, Dow, and you, Hollie, but all of you beautiful people around the world. So yes, it's been a crazy day and we will break it down, but let us know in the comments below. Sending big love.
Absolutely, Ricky's right. The support for all of us and this podcast has been absolutely amazing throughout 2024. So thank you so much for all of your input. Back also with us is impressionist and voiceover artist Darren Altman. Darren, how are you?
All good. Just recovering. Just quickly watched a bit of Ange's presser and a quick interview with him. Just trying to get my head around what's happened, really. But I echo Ricky's statements. 2 days away from Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you're having a good one. And I'm looking forward to not discussing Spurs, but your Christmas Day vegetable preparation tips. So that's what we're going to do, about an hour and a half on, you know, your thoughts on how to best prepare for Christmas. I'll start. Parboil all your vegetables tomorrow. Get that done. Then it's out the way. Put them in the fridge. And then that's done. It'll save you a hell of a lot of time. Hollie, what do you have to say?
I mean, I'm going to say I can't cook, so I'm probably best if I just say thank you for having me on the show, and be good to have a bit of therapy session tonight.
I'll tell you what, Hollie, I'm no cook, but it might be easier talking about vegetables than it is talking about this today.
We've just seen 11 of them play for Spurs, haven't we? Whey!
Well, talking about Christmas messages, let's get one from a guy that I bumped into after the game.
Happy Christmas to everyone. Kiss you. Ciao.
Let's hope that we get a few gifts in the January transfer window with the help from Fabio. Back with us also is Spurs YouTuber Hollie Agombar. Hollie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Like I say, it's so close to Christmas, so I appreciate you having me on as well. Hope everybody else as well is gearing up for the holidays and just kind of forget this game after we've dissected it.
Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the game, because I can already see in the comments, and without repeating yourself, and these are all about Ange Postecoglou, by the way. Some people are very unhappy with the type of football that we're playing. And I want to start by talking about Ange Postecoglou's press conference on Friday, because he was asked a question by a journalist saying, are Spurs fans happy? Is this the type of football that they want? He said, yes, it is the type of football that they want. Now, after these, let's choose the last 3 games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The Chelsea one, 4-3. The Manchester United one, 4-3. And now this one today, 6-3. Now, you're old enough or young enough to remember Ozzy Ideali's football, especially in that 94-95 season when Klinsmann came in. We didn't have much of a defence and it was all about attacking. What are you making of this football? And as I say, without repeating yourself, that what you said the other day about Ange, of staying in there, getting behind the manager. And I should also say as well that a number of Spurs fans today before the game were protesting against the board and Daniel Levy. I feel like today, though, it is very different, because a lot of people in the stadium seem to be behind Ange Postecoglou, even when the scoreline was 6-3.
So, okay.
I know there's a lot there.
There is a lot there, but look, you know what? I'm not. Look, I know that there's guys out there that are feeling the pain of today's result and feeling some of those losses real deep. And I get it, I get where you're coming from. It's just that I choose to look at things from a different perspective, and I'm not being positive for positive sake. But you know what, for me, and again, I respect everybody's opinion, and I'm just sharing mine. That's all I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? So, but again, I can't be more proud of the boys, I fell in love with the team again today. Do you know what I mean? Because if you look at our schedule, if you look at we've had to go through to get to this point, playing Archie Gray, we had one centre-back playing against Liverpool today. We had one registered centre-back playing against their world-class play and their world-class players throughout their team. Liverpool are a well-drilled side. Klopp left them in a really good position. And you know what? Everybody was waiting for a dip to happen, and it didn't happen. Arne Slot, who we were after, who rejected us to stay at Final for another year, and then finally go to Liverpool, is taking them on to another level. You've got to hand it to a quality side. They are not only drilled within this tactic and within this press, counter press, and know how to hold on to a lead and know how to attack when they want. But they've got like world-class options throughout their team. Look at their goalkeeper. Look at Van Dijk, Szoboszlai, Salah, Diaz today. They throughout. Look at who they brought off the bench today. And they're a well-drilled side. They're not unbeaten in the league, but they're top of the league. And they are unbeaten, I think, in the Champions League as well. So it's not just Tottenham that have had have come up against some fierce and relentless play from Liverpool. First and foremost, I give it up to those boys that even at 5-1, they were still battling. They continued to battle. You've got to look at that side. If we had our first teamers out there, I think we would have had a better shot at going toe-to-toe with them. If we had Mickey van der Ven in that left centre-back role, with his pace, his power, his tenacity, his will to drive and his will to push on, I think we would have, had a better chance there. About the injuries that we've got. And is it an excuse? No, but they are reasons behind it. And our schedule, look at our schedule that we've had. Liverpool have had a week off as well. And, and they're fully within their flow. They're fully within their momentum. So I come from a place and I looked at that, and yes, it was 6-3, and yes, that is painful. But by the end of it, by 70 minutes, and especially when I heard the Spurs fans in that stadium start singing, it was almost like, it's almost like the stadium were like, you know what? We're on this crazy train, it's quote from Lee McQueen. He always likes to use that one. But we are on this crazy train, and we're here to ride it. Do you know what I mean? We're here on it. And everybody started cheering the boys. Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Because you can see, even at 5-1 down, we didn't collapse. Our heads didn't drop. In fact, it was Ange Postecoglou's tactics that tried to get us back in that game. And at 5-3, who knows what could have happened? For me, the biggest difference that I could see in today is that not only do Liverpool have quality in every part and in every department of their squad, right? Squad, not just first 11, squad. But their world-class talent, ultra world-class talent in Salah was in world-class form today. And our world-class talent, Son, he was just not in that world-class form today. He missed a couple of opportunities to put us 2-2 and to get us back in the game at certain points. And he just wasn't at it today. But then you look at the schedule he's had, and he's been running to the ground as well. So there's loads of different reasons, but I came out even more proud of those boys. Do you know what I mean? The fact that they carried on fighting, they carried on battling for each other. When the young ones came onto the field, when Bergvall came onto the field, they didn't come on just to get minutes. They came on to try and do something, to try and make something happen. You know, Maddison looked like he was upset when he came off the field because he wanted to continue to try and help this team, like, get back into the game. We were never out of it. But, you know, you look at their quality and you look at ours, and that's what you're seeing right there. How much they've spent on their squad and how much we've spent on ours. There's a jump in quality. You know, yes, that's apparent. But the way that they fought today, I'm proud of them. And the way that they've got through this Christmas period, I'm proud of them. And keep going, boys. I've got you. And I'm on this roller coaster with you. So let's keep it rolling, man. And I know that's gonna upset some people out there. There's already people texting me and telling me, see, I told you. And I get it. I get where you're coming from. It's just that I see things in a different way, and I look at it in a different way, and I see these boys behind Ange, and I see them going for the glory that we're hoping for them to get. It's just a longer way and a harder route round that we've got to go.
Well, I think you have upset a few people, Rick, because Clement says Ange out. Wilson says Ange out. Beast of TH says Ricky, stop talking codswallop. And Ian says Ricky seems happy with 11th. Now, of course,
I'm not happy with 11th. Hold tight. Let me address that one. That's the only one that I'll address. The rest, your opinion is your opinion. I'm not happy with 11th. It's the pressing seeing us in the second half, in the bottom half of the table. But we haven't been there for a long time, being in the second half of the table. So I'm not happy with that. I want us to be winners. I want us to. What I'm saying is that we went up against a phenomenal side today, and every single pass was measured. Every single time they had a shot was on target. You know what I mean? We had Fraser Forster in there, who was still reeling after the game against Man United. You could see he wasn't. Yeah. He was still feeling that he hadn't had a chance to shake that off from Thursday night. So there were factors there, and that's all I'm doing is I'm trying to put out a balance. And I hear where you guys are coming from. I'm just trying to give another point of view. I just see it differently.
Ricky, tearing up the rules here on X, says, Ricky, we simply don't have the squad to implement Ange ball. A deep quality squad is a must. I think that both you and I have said that on a number of times on this podcast, you know, certainly this season. And as Ange said here, you could see that we were lacking a bit of energy and the challenges that we have. You know, and when you look at it, we'll come on to the starting 11, 0 changes. Ange put out exactly the same team that beat Manchester United on Thursday, only 3 days ago. And Liverpool made 7 changes midweek in their Carabao Cup game. So I think there is a major difference in quality and depth in the squads. I don't like losing 6-3, certainly not. And I'm with Heung-min Son. You know, these defeats do hurt, especially when you concede 6 goals at home. But Ricky, I am with you, and I know people will probably call me deluded as well. The fact that you've got to see the bigger picture. I think that a lot of Spurs fans, certainly inside that stadium today, are behind our manager. I just believe that whoever is the manager, whether it be Ange or whether it be somebody else, if they pull the plug and employ someone else, we're going to have the same issues because we need to address certain issues in transfer windows and bring in much better players and get that depth in our squad finally. Darren, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's game.
Well, I mean, I was at the Man U game, and that was like being at a circus, and it was like a circus today. I mean, it's just unbelievable. he's fed up of being asked the same questions, and he says that over. I mean, he's absolutely, he's had it, and he's being asked, plan B. He doesn't want to hear that again, and shutting up shop and looking after a lead and stuff. All right, we didn't take the lead today, but I mean, I'm firmly Ange in. I'll state that. I don't want him to go. I think if he went, it would be just we'd be just chasing our tail and we'd be going round and round in circles. I fully trust the process. And like Ricky said, when it was 5-3 and everyone was going for it, I thought, bloody hell, we need one more goal here, and this gets really, really interesting. So but I think the main crux of today was, Chris, is that we were so depleted. Our centre backs, they're not used to playing together. They didn't have time to form a relationship. And as I'm sure we'll discuss, for quite a few of the goals, they were completely out of position. It's suicide football. I think he could be a bit more pragmatic. But like today, we weren't in the lead. So he had to chase. He had to play maverick football. He had no other option but to chase. Otherwise, we couldn't get the draw. So it was entertaining, bloody hell. But I mean, it's also very frustrating, And I think that had we had our two centre backs there, it may have been a different story. I mean, you need, like Ricky said, when you're dealing with an on-form Liverpool and what they've got to offer, you need your absolute best. Otherwise, you're going to get a hiding. And today was exactly what we got. We got a hiding.
Darren, is it fair to say that sometimes you just need to put your hands up and say we were beaten by the better side? Because Liverpool, we haven't even mentioned it yet, have lost one game in all competitions all season under Liverpool boss Slot. And that was at home against Nottingham Forest. Of course, our next opponent. We'll come on to talk about that later on in the show. But sometimes I think you've just got to hold your hands up and say, look, we were beaten by quality. And I know some people will see this as an excuse, but we do have so many injuries to key players, and we don't have that depth yet.
We do, and you're right.
I was going to say further down the line, another transfer window or two, I think that there will be big questions asked if we don't have that depth.
Absolutely, and you're perfectly within your rights to say that. And they're top of the league at Christmas for a reason. Like you said, I don't think they've lost in the Champions League this season, so it speaks for itself. And you are right, we got beaten by the better team. Could we have helped ourselves? Absolutely, 100%. There were mitigating circumstances that led to goals. But yeah, I mean, you're dealing with a fully fit Liverpool team. When they bring on players, you're like, oh, here we go, Jota's on. He scores and sets up goals for fun. We just don't have that. We bring on Bergvall and Johnson. It would have been a different story had we had all our certainly our defenders fit. It would have been a different story, I think.
Hollie, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on this defeat today.
Yeah, it's just a frustrating one. I mean, if you asked me before the Man United game, I never want to lose a game. I never want to prize one or the other. But I was adamant I wanted that Man United game. I wanted to go through to the next round of the cup. And I was like, if that meant that maybe on Sunday it wasn't our best of games, so be it, because we're still in the cup. Obviously, I now know that we've drawn Liverpool in the cup. So hopefully we've got a few players back for that one. But for me, it was just a sense of, hold my hands up. Liverpool are outstanding this season. They're proving that where they are in the league. With us, we're so depleted. I think as well, the fact that obviously where we haven't got our two centre-backs, where we had Archie Gray, that's naturally a midfielder playing at centre-back alongside Rekdushin, it just kind of speaks volumes that we're not really where we want to be at the moment, because we haven't really had that investment in terms of the depleted squad. We lose one player, that's it. We're kind of a little bit screwed. You can see that with obviously losing Mickey Van de Ven and Romero. But for me, it's just annoying. And I think the thing is, you just need to look at this one and be like, just brush it under the carpet. We've got to move on to the next game. It's another quick turnaround with this fixture list at the moment. And as much as it is, we all go on about we've lost 6-3 today, but in the grand scheme of things, I think to myself, against any tide, Liverpool are decent this season. And when you've got a team with so many injuries, I'm not saying this is an excuse, and I'm also not sitting here and saying Ange needs to change things, because I think we all know the man's going to play the way he wants to play, and that is to play this fast flow attacking football. And like both Ricky and Darren said, we had to go and chase the game because we never went in front. And like we kind of said, when we went to we were kind of getting the goals back in the net when Solanke scored, when Maddison scored, just sat there thinking, actually, maybe we can get back into this because we play such this high intensity football. And it's just I wouldn't say it's embarrassing, but it's just annoying when you see that scoreline. But moving forward, I think just have to put this one under the carpet and hope that in January we get some more players in to kind of sort those missing gaps, have a midfielder that can sit and kind of do the dirty work to win the ball back, someone that can regain possession, spread it out, and then get another centre back in so we don't have this position again. But I want to sit and praise maybe one player, and that is probably Spence, which we'll probably get onto, but I think he's had a cracking couple of games, and it just shows that when a player is hungry and wants it, they can form to the high levels. But yeah, I think we just need to move on from this one. It's just annoying.
Hollie, does it bother you in any way that Andrew's come out and said so many times, I am not going to change the way I play. This is what I do. This is the type of football that we are going to be playing. Does that bother you in any way? Because I feel like it's starting to bother a few people.
I think it bothers me a little bit, but then also I think to myself, if that's your style of play, you need the players to be able to do it. And yes, at the moment, he doesn't have that. But I think we are all under the impression that he's here for the long run. And it's not going to change within a couple of windows. As much as we all love it, would want it to, that's not going to be the case. So from one hand, for a fan saying they want a project, to the next minute they're saying, get him gone. I don't understand the kind of how you can be that flippant. I think you've just got to stick with him. We can see the philosophy. When it works really, really well. But when we don't have those players that kind of slot into that thing because we've had an injury, then yeah, it does go wrong. But that's where we've got to get those players through the drawers to be playing in his system, to have the depth to play that system. And then we won't have that problem of, oh, he only plays one way. Oh, it's only this way. But if it plays it really well and it works, why change it? We just got to get to that point, and we're not at that point yet.
Hollie, as I mentioned earlier, Spurs are 11th in the Premier League table, played 17, 23 points. As I mentioned, 8 points away from the top four, 5 points away from fifth spot at the moment. Does the league position at this point, going into Christmas, does that bother you? Because I know a lot of Spurs fans, we have a lot of guests on here week in, week out. And I suppose we're all on the same page of saying we would love to win a trophy this season. Are you all about the, gunning for the cups this season, or does the league position at the moment bother you?
To be honest with you, no. I just want a cup. Obviously, I've only seen one cup. That might show my age. And to me, it's like always the butt of the joke. We haven't had that trophy. And we've got a manager in that says he wants to win stuff. He wants to be successful. And just give him the tools to do so. And yes, okay, it looks awful with the league position at the moment. I mean, it could be worse. But I'm also sat there thinking, we've got January to come in, bring some more players in, get our players fit, and then we can kind of move on with the league. But for me, I just want a trophy. And I think where there's so many gaps at the moment in terms of the lack of depth, we're never going to be able to do it all. So for me, I'd prioritise that trophy over the league.
Ricky, let's come to you. The question or the point I just made to Hollie about, Ange saying he's not going to change. In the press conference, just a short while ago, he has said exactly the same thing again. I've been really patient the last 18 months sitting here answering the same questions over and over. If people want me to change my approach, it is not going to change. Does that bother you in any way, Rick?
No. You've got to commend a man who stands by his principles and lives or dies by them. And you know what? When he has stood by his principles, when he has stood up to questions, when he has stood up against the fans in the stadium, he told us that story the other day, that the fans in the stadiums were chucking tennis balls onto the field in protest. He went against all of these things and still came out successful, because you've got to ride the storm sometimes. I'm looking at it from a bigger point of view, a larger point of view. He does have plan B's and C's. He does it with personnel. It's about the way. It's the philosophy, and you keep the same philosophy. You keep the same way of playing. That doesn't mean anything changes. If you look at the Man City game, we actually played deeper when we played Man City twice recently. We've actually had a deeper line and hit them on the break, and that's because they've got quality too and stuff like that. So there has been adaptation. When you change the midfield, flavor, and we haven't had options, we've had to kind of just roll with what we've got recently. But when you change the midfield options, that changes the way we play. Sometimes we're going to attacking with Kulu and Maddison, and one guy sitting, or sometimes we've got one sitting, one box to box, and 110, and so it gives us variation. But we haven't been able to do that too tough. So it is about quality. It is about that kind of that step up now that we need, and that's the only thing that's lacking right now. The thing is that nobody's going to tell Pep, right? Nobody's going to tell Pep to start playing a different way. And yes, he's got billions of credit in the bank because he's won everything for I don't know how many seasons now, right? But they've come unstuck and have hit a really tricky patch. And it's down to tiredness, fatigue, the amount of games that they've had, and ultimately injuries to key personnel. So that has stopped the flow of their game. But nobody's going to tell Pep to play a different way. It's going to happen with Amorim. Amorim has changed the formation and the way of playing at Man United, 3-4-3, but with variations of different play. Now, nobody's going to tell him to stop playing the way that he's going to play. You know, you're going to have to stick with it. And do you know what? Though he's going to be praised for sticking to his guns. You know, the fact that you continue to try and berate a manager into bending to your will, whether that's our will as fans or the journalist's will to try and do something, that's frustrating in itself. You know, we've got to accept what we're doing. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want to defend. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want to win. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want a clean sheet. It doesn't mean that we don't practice defensive free kicks and stuff like that. It doesn't mean that we don't do the defensive side. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean it's just kamikaze football. It doesn't mean that. But we play a certain way, and we're going to continue to play a certain way. And you could see, you know, Southampton, when we played Southampton, you know, against Russell Martin, and yes, he did get the sack that evening. When we played against them, there was a massive jump in quality. Massive. Now, Southampton wanted to play the same type of style of football. It wasn't exactly the same, but it's the same style. Out from the back, inverted wing backs and stuff like that. But you could tell how much quality we had over Southampton. Yes, they were in a poor state as well, but our level in quality was massive. You could see it. And it's the same with Liverpool right now. The fact that their quality, you could see it. They were levels above today. That's why you've got to give them a clap. You've got to hold up your hands. Look at those goals that they scored today. I don't want to sound like a Liverpool fan, but they were pinpoint. They were on point. They were, you know, some of the passes from Salah and they were bamboozling an 18-year-old utility player right now. You know what I mean? Not playing in his preferred position up against one centre-back. You know, we're fighting for our lives out there. We didn't just concede. We continue to fight. And those lessons and these lessons that these young ones are going through as well, they're going to be pivotal. And I know it's painful today, but they're going to be pivotal lessons that they are going to take with them. That's going to do Archie Gray a world of good. It might sound crazy, but it will. And so if Anne sticks to his principle, which he will, we've got to roll with it. We've got to start swimming with the tide, not against it. Do you know what I mean? And yes, there are things that us fans are going to want to do differently. And that's great. That's opinion. And that's great. And we can talk about that. But the boss has got a clear idea. Now, does he have all the tools in his toolbox? No. And we know that. We knew that going into this season, Tottenham fans. We know it. If you watch the pod, if you read everything that's got to do with Tottenham, if you watch every video, you know that our tool set was not complete to start the season. Yet we came out and we tried, and it's been, you know, it's been a roller coaster, yes. But right now we're down to like a hammer, a screwdriver, and you know, like a wrench that doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what we're down to right now to fix the house. But you know what? Nobody's crying. Nobody's complaining. Nobody's crying to the FA saying let's call games off, or you know what I mean? Like, nobody's crying or complaining. We're picking ourselves up. We're not feeling sorry for ourselves, and we're going out there to fight. They continue to fight against Liverpool. And that's what I'm saying. There's something bigger in that. And I know it's painful. I'm not saying I don't feel the pain. Of course, I had to sit there and watch it with you guys. I had to sit there and watch it as well. But it's just that I see where we are. And I believe that we're going to hit these heights under this manager. Because we're going... He told you in his press conference about the transfer policy and how he's spending the money that he's got. And when he spoke about Archie Gray and, you know what I mean? You know, he could have got a 27-year-old in defense, but they're missing that. So he told you, explained it to you in that way. So whatever manager we have, we're going to be going this way. But he looks at that and goes, no, I can work with that. Do you know what I mean? I want to take that on and I can work with it. He's not swimming against the tide. He's going, all right, cool. I'm going to want a bit more from you. But okay, I can work with this system and still be successful. We've just got to ride the storm with him. And I love that he's strong. I love that he stands up against all of us that are a little bit anxious. He spoke about anxiety the other day. That's exactly what it is. When we're flowing and nobody can touch us, you know, when we had those 10 games, and I'm not saying that he's going to live off those 10 games at the beginning of the season last year, but when we had those 10 games, it was mind-blowing. It was breathtaking because we had all the tools in our toolbox doing the right things. And some of the tools we didn't even want at that point, but we were showing out at that point. So
Ricky,
it's coming.
Can I ask you, because you are such a big Ange fan, and you always see the positives about anything in life, and that's why I love you.
It's difficult, but yeah.
However, do you think that Ange needs to change anything in any way? Are you fully behind what he's doing? I know you see the bigger picture, so do I. But let's go through some of the comments here. Be Good Now 5 says that's a real problem, then, isn't it? You know, by Ange not wanting to change. Baker says, I don't believe that Ange will bring a trophy. David says we'll be lucky to get 3 points out of the next 4 games. Mark says I want White Hart Lane to be a fortress. Paul Brown says we need to buy a goalkeeper. There's so many different opinions, and I suppose that a lot of Spurs fans at the moment, regardless of the managers that we have had and the poor results that we have had, you know, during a period of time, we're not used to being 11th in the Premier League table. I get all of the injuries. I get what Angie's doing. But at the end of the day, you know, a lot of people will say football is a results business. And if you are losing games, you know, Aussie ideal is, let's go back to that season, 94-95. People absolutely loved the football that we played with that, you know, attacking line of 5 players, Klinsmann, Sheringham and co. People absolutely loved it. But we went to Watford, we beat them 6-2. You know, we won games 4-3. It was crazy, and it reminds me a lot of that. But we do have a lot better defence now than we did back in the 90s. But as I say, it is a results business, and I suppose we can't keep having these types of results.
The biggest difficulty is the beginning of the season. So when there was about 3-4 games where we should have won. Do you know what I mean? Like, hands down. Like, we had the most amount of possession, we had the most amount of shots. Leicester was one of them. There was a couple, the first couple of games. You know, Solanke ended up playing, and then he ended up being out for 3 weeks and stuff like that. So that's really hurt us because we haven't been able to catch a run yet. And every time we catch a run, something happens. Somebody else is injured. Somebody else pulls out. Somebody else pulls up, you know. And we've hit a really difficult patch. And all our problems have come at the same time. And now for me, after last year, I would have hoped that the board and those that sit in the board would have taken the lessons from last year and go, let's not do that to ourselves. But like I said, at the beginning of the season, we were still a left centre back stroke left back down, a 6, which was a fan thing. Everybody wants a 6. I don't know whether Ange wants that. And there was a dynamic midfielder. For me personally, I wanted a winger and a striker. Now we've got the striker. I know, Chris, you wanted a second keeper, and now look where we are right now.
I think it's fair to say, Rick, we need enforcements in all areas. You know, we've said that in past windows as well. But when you go through such a major rebuild, Harry Kane leaving, you know, a number of players going out the door. You know, I think we all applauded the amount of players that we offloaded. The squad did need to change heavily. I think that it's fair to say that a lot of us wanted to see more experience in the last window. You know, that's got to happen in future windows. And just kind of touched on that you've got to bring in quality, you know, around the young players as well. I suppose it's going back to saying time and patience. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that term, time and patience, but I think, you know, that is exactly what is required at the moment because, you know, we've gone through, you know, so many managers. When you think 7 different managers, including Pochettino since 2019 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 7 different managers. It's incredible. So we have to give time, patience, tools to someone. And I'm just hoping Ange Postecoglou is that man. Darren, let's come to you on that. Are you fully behind Ange?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm completely behind him. I do not see the logic in sacking someone that is playing the type of football that we've cried out for under Jose and Conte. We were all bored stiff. All right, you could argue that under Mourinho, we did have that counter attack, where we would sit deep and then catch teams on the break. Look at the Song goal against Burnley as an example. And we were playing some exciting football, but I do not see the logic in sacking this manager when he's been there for 18 months. If we were getting absolutely battered week after week after week and rolling over like Southampton, then you'd say, sure, it's not working. But I think you've got to give him time. You've got to give him a couple of more transfer windows and have faith in this process. Like Ricky said, he's got a very, very clear idea of what he wants and a style of football that we as fans want to see. And I think that, yeah, absolutely behind him. I do not see you could see him being sacked and then us all going, here we go again. Here we go again. It's a merry-go-round, and I want to stay and trust this process.
Darren Baker says here, Ange is worse than Christian Gross. How much more time would you give Ange? Yet you compare Slot with no players on, yet he is challenging for the league. Paul Russell writes here, patience, had 24 years of it. Show some football and ambition like Newcastle, Villa and others do. I suppose a lot of us Spurs fans want to see the ambition on the pitch because, we see, a number of things happen off the pitch, but it is time now, isn't it? It's got to be time to back a manager, truly back a manager and really compete on the pitch.
Absolutely, 100%. I see no logic in sacking this guy after 18 months and then just, like I say, going round and round and round in circles. You've got to back him. He's got courage in his convictions. He's got a style of football that is, everyone's talking about. I mean, Gary Neville today said on the commentary, he said, bloody hell, he said, I wish we could have Tottenham playing at 4:30 every Sunday afternoon. And I just think that we need, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think sacking him would just be pointless. It'd be pointless.
Hollie, let's come to you. Of course, it is very, very entertaining for the neutrals, isn't it? These Tottenham Hotspur games.
It's very stressful as well, to say the least. I know it's always stressful being a Spurs fan. It's extra stressful at the moment. I mean, just going back to the point, I've seen people, obviously, we can see quite a lot of goals. Looking at the past games we've had, the games we've lost to, we've only lost by 1 goal. So as much as we are conceding a lot of goals, we're also scoring a lot of goals. And I think today's a real anomaly in a sense that we've conceded a margin of 3 goals. I know there's 6 in total, but there's only 3. We've scored 3 as well. So I don't really agree with the sense of we're conceding too many because we are also scoring things. I think the biggest problem is like obviously the Brighton game this season where we go 2-0 in front and then we capitulate. Whereas today it was kind of an anomaly in a sense that you can tell we were running on empty because we never really got started until the goals started flying in, which again, I'm not saying it was all our fault in terms of, yes, we run on empty, yes, we don't have the depth, yes, they can all be excuses. But I can also sit here and say Liverpool did play really, really well. And again, for me, I don't want to see Ange sacked. I can't be asked. We say that it was a bit of a circus today, but I don't want to be part of the circus going round and round the merry-go-round of managers every season. I feel like he gets the club. He wants to do well at the club. And yes, I know it's so frustrating that we've got to give it time, this, that and the other. But I'm also sat here thinking, I don't want to start again. I don't want Jose Ball. I don't want Conte Ball. This is exciting to watch. And I think in the future, it will bring us trophies. It's just trying to get all the pieces of the puzzle to fix. And I don't think we've got all the puzzle pieces yet. And that only comes from investment. And I know we can talk about, but we spent lots of money on certain players like Ndomble, didn't work out. We spent lots of players on other young talent, it didn't work out. But I feel like we're at the right place now to actually get players in with that kind of level of experience. And Ange just said it already today. We need those experienced players to push us over the line. We've said it so many times, we don't have those players to push us over the line. I think we've got a good core of players now, the likes of Decky, the likes of Solanke. Again, Solanke's experience, you could argue, in the Premier League. But we've also got that mix of youth and Archie Gray with Jed Spence. It's just finding those last few little pieces. And then we'll look back on this podcast in maybe a year or so time and be like, yeah, it was right to stick with him. Or we might hold our hands up and say not. But I'd rather keep on giving it a go until things are drastically bad, because I don't think from an outsider kind of view that it is as bad as we all think it is at the moment.
Let's have a look at the match facts and stats here. Tottenham had 51.5% of the ball to Liverpool's 48.5%. XG, Spurs 1.25 to Liverpool's 4.55. Shots, Spurs had 9 to Liverpool's 24. Shots on target, Spurs had 5 to Liverpool's 12. Touches inside the opposition box, Tottenham 26, Liverpool a staggering 50. Goalkeeper saves, Spurs 6, Liverpool 2. Fouls, Spurs 7, Liverpool 9. And corners, Spurs 7, Liverpool 5. Hollie, let's talk about the starting 11 today, because, as I mentioned, Spurs didn't make any changes. Postecoglou went with the same team that beat Manchester United 4-3 in the Carabao Cup quarter-final on Thursday. So the team was as follows: Forster, Porro, Gray, Dragushin, Spence, Sarr, Basuma, Maddison, and then the front line of Kulusevski, Solanke and Son. Subs today: Austin, Reguilon, Udogi, Dorrington, Bergvall, Elise, Werner, Johnson and Lancashire. I suppose the question I should ask you is, any surprises there for you? But, you know, when you look at the sub-bench, we are literally down to bare bones. You could say that Johnson perhaps could have got a game, but then who are you going to drop out for him? Any surprises for you?
I don't think so. And I know it's probably going back on my words and saying that we were all running on empty, but I think that is the best starting 11 to go for. Obviously, Udogi wasn't 100% fit. So again, Spence has been great the last couple of games. So to keep him in was probably the best kind of shout. Again, I don't think there was many other changes you could have done. Maybe during the game, you could have seen, obviously, at times it's probably going to be controversial, but I don't think Sonny had an amazing game today. Maybe mix it up, put Werner on when we were already so many goals down. Maybe been something to mix it up. But in terms of the starting 11, I don't think there was any surprises for me.
Ricky, any surprises in the starting 11 for you, or this does just prove, doesn't it, that we're down to bare bones? We've got a number of players coming back, and hopefully they will be back in sometime in January.
Exactly that. Exactly that. We are down to bare bones. You know, look how many teenagers are on the bench there. Look at the benches. Compare the benches. You know, let's think about it. Let's say Ange wanted to go to a back three. What was he going to do then? Bring on Dorrington, you know, against Liverpool, which we know Dorrington's a talented player, but like that's asking a lot as well. There are so many factors to it, but you can see what we need. I think everybody can see what we need. We can see what the problems are and what the problems have always been. And if we could give this squad, if we could give this guy a little bit more, you know, then who knows where we could be. That's why I think January is really important. Let's see what happens there. Let's see what quality we can bring in. Let's see how we can help this squad. And we are going to be stronger. You know, once we start getting our some of the players back, we are going to be so much stronger. You know, we brought in Odegaard to be a dynamic, pacey winger. We have not been able to see him for the whole season. We saw him for 5 minutes. He was supposed to be an impact sub to come on, you know, and really kind of wear down the defense when they've been working for 60, 70 minutes, the opposition defense. You know, we haven't been able to see him at all. Richarlison is supposed to be the guy that comes off the bench or the alternative, you know, forward up front. Solanke has been phenomenal, by the way. I'm loving what Solanke's doing, but we haven't even had that option. You know, there's so many options. Bentancur's, you know, of course, the charge was never going to be reduced because it's Tottenham. It's just our luck. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just our luck that, of course, it wouldn't get reduced by one game.
I was going to say, Rick, you're right on Dominic Solanke because Ange said himself the other day, you know, you can't even give a player like that any rest because you have no one else.
So what are you gonna do? Do you know what I mean? Like bring on Lancashire, which is an option, right? And again, talented youngster. But look at what we're fighting with. Look at what cards we're playing poker with at the table. You know, we could get us straight, like we could, but the cards are all over the place. And you know, Liverpool are sitting over there with, you know, King Ace, and they, you know, they're more than likely going to win. So look at what cards we're coming to the table with. Is all I'm saying. You know, I love my team. I love my team. I hate us losing. It pains me in my stomach. It really does.
Yeah.
But to me, to see that all of the boys out there left everything out there. They went out on their shield. And I remember being on this podcast and like, you know, under Conte, under Mourinho, going, I don't know what just happened there. Like what's happening? You know what I mean? They didn't go out on this shield. They gave up at certain points, or they just down tools at certain points. And at those points, we had big results that went against us, you know, where we just rolled over and let them have it, you know. And I remember saying very simply on this podcast, all I want my team to do is run and leave it all out there. If they leave it all out there and we lose, I can deal with that. Do you know what I mean? But today, for me, they left it all out there. They tried their hardest. Now, some things weren't up to par. Some elements of quality wasn't there, but they continued. There were green shoots there, man. Like Hollie was saying, even about Spence being out there on the left side, his weaker side. Yes, he can play there, but his weaker side. He's out there trying to make things happen, always looking to move and shake, and he never stopped. Archie Gray never stopped, and 5 goals went past him. Do you know what I mean? As a young 18-year-old, he didn't drop his head. He was like, all right, then cool. As well as the rest of these boys that came on, you know what I mean? Like, so, all right, yes, it's painful. It hurts me. Of course it does. I'm not just positive for positive sake. I just look at it and go, you know what? I see the effort, not only that you put into today, but for the rest of the week. We've seen in previous games, because we've had, 3 games roughly a week for a long time with the road, with Europe and with cup games. So we've seen dips. We've seen the energy levels dips, especially in the second half. But at 5-1 down, which they could have let it go. They could have gone, all right, and fine. Let's rest up and get ready for the next game. They carried on fighting. They carried on fighting until the end. You know, Liverpool were looking at the extra time going, oh, what, how many? And even though they ended up scoring again, but I mean, you know, they were looking at the clock at one point going, oh, okay, cool. Because we continued, and that's a great sign. In a poor result, that's a great sign. Where there's some performances that weren't up to scratch, yeah, absolutely. But there was so much effort from these guys to not only go out there to try and do something, try and win. It didn't work, but then we tried to, like, you know, there was pride. We didn't just fall over. It was like, all right, cool, we're gonna keep going. You know, how many blocks did Spence make in that box? You know, it was so many things. There's so many efforts from those boys today that I can't help but be proud of them. In a poor result, yes, I can't help but be proud of them because they left it all out there and they never dropped their heads there, and they took it on the chin and they took it like men and they left it out there to the right and cool. We'll take that, and you know, lessons will be learned. Do you know what I mean? Tough ones, but lessons will be learned.
I completely agree, Ricky. How many podcasts over the years have we done where we're saying the players haven't given their all? And I certainly feel exactly the same as you that the players gave their all today. And had they have not done that, I don't think, you know, the whole of the South Stand, you know, they wouldn't be singing Ange Postecoglou's name. I think a lot of people inside the stadium can see that Ange is up against it. You know, Ange has already mentioned about the lack of energy today because we haven't got the players. We've had to use exactly the same team than that played on Thursday. Paddy writes here, Gray, Kulusevski and Spence are the only players who can hold their heads up today, and possibly Solanke. As Ricky and I have said, I feel like every single player can hold their heads up high. It's just an energy battle at the moment, and you know, trying to get some of our key players back for Ange sometime in January. Darren, let's come to you. Now, after the 3rd minute of the game, Fraser Forster had a back pass, gave it straight to Mo Salah, of all players. Luckily, he hit the side netting. Frustrating one because, of course, Fraser Forster has played extremely well for Spurs. You know, he had a real shaky moment or two in that United game. Luckily, we got through on Thursday night. But overall, what have you made of Fraser Forster in a Spurs shirt this season, covering for Vicario?
Generally good. He surprised me, actually, Chris. He surprised me. I thought his shot stops have been really good. That today was, yes, I write on my notes when he did that. Oh, that was just incredibly frustrating. Maybe he was still nervous with the hangover for the United game and his confidence has dipped a bit. But the other thing is that I'm seeing that a lot with all teams now. That just seems to be the modern way of playing. I'm not saying everyone or goalies should just boot the ball willy-nilly upfield, but that is a style of play that is proliferating the Premier League. And Vicario does it. I don't like it when he does it. He's cost us goals by doing exactly that. Forster did it today. I think as long as he's in goal for us, he'll get some confidence. I don't like this style of play. It winds me up. It's suicide football, and yeah, I clock that as well. That wasn't. Hopefully, it'll just be out of his system now.
There's a lot of negativity, I must say, in the comments for Ange Postecoglou and the team today. Enrique says here, Ange does like to argue with reporters interviewing him. Darren says here, 9 goals conceded in 2 home games. Let that sink in. Spurs get battered songs at the darts tonight, says Richard. 23 goals in 3 games, says Paul. There are so many negative comments in here, I must say. Gary also writes here, stop making excuses for Ange. Hollie, let's come to you. After 4 minutes, Liverpool had a chance, shot wide from 20 yards. After 10 minutes, Fraser Forster made a double save. After 16 minutes, Cody Gakpo over the bar after a good move. After 16 minutes, Spurs had a chance through Pape Matar Sarr. He shot wide. After 17 minutes, Salah, 2 shots blocked. After 18 minutes, Salah drifting past the Spurs defence, hitting the ball against the bar. 2 minutes later, Heung-min Son was brought down. Liverpool were on the attack. And then Liverpool's first goal came after 23 minutes. I think that all of us could see it was coming because the amount of attacks that they had at this point. Luis Diaz made it 1-0. A pinpoint cross from Alexander-Arnold. You've got to say, what a cross from him, but an excellent finish.
Yeah, and the thing is, obviously, most weeks I moan about we don't go out and stop the cross from coming in. But when it's Trent and he's put the ball in the sixpence, I can't really argue with it. It was a great work goal, and like you said, you could see it coming. I think, like we've all kind of said, I think we all have to hold our hands up. And today, Liverpool were just Liverpool, and that's what it is. And I keep saying it, they're where they are in the league because of where they are. Like they're not awful. They're a brilliant football side, and we just couldn't compete with them today. And I don't think it's an excuse to say that our players were knackered or empty, or the fact that we've got hardly any depth, and we've got players injured. That's just facts. That's not excuses. That's just facts. And I think I'm not saying here and saying, oh, if we had our players back, it could be a totally different story. I just think Liverpool are just levels above everyone else at the minute. And again, that kind of proves where they are in the league. But yeah, going back to the goal, it was just excellent. And the thing is, there wasn't really a lot I don't think that our defenders could have done. I know in recent weeks there's been a lot of hate on Pedro Porro with his kind of ability to be where he needs to be when he's defending. But I think the way that cross was just struck in, there was no way we were going to defend it. It was just a class finish and an even better cross.
Hollie, let's stay with you. After 26 minutes, Diaz with a shot on goal, forced a comfortable save. And then after 36 minutes, it was 2-0. McAllister scoring Liverpool's second of the game. What did you make of this goal? Should our defence, should we have done better? Because the cross came in, it was headed on, and then, of course, McAllister finished it off.
Now, I've just spoken about our defenders maybe not having a chance, but this one definitely wound me up. I felt like when the ball came in, and obviously there was that first kind of initial kind of contact with the ball, everybody's kind of standing around watching. And I'm thinking there's 4 players kind of in and amongst our goal line, and they're all looking. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know you're all knackered, but that's defender instinct is to protect your goal line at all costs. And it just was non-existent. Obviously, you see the still there with Fraser Forster, bless him, coming out and trying to do his best to make himself big. But for me, it's kind of excusable the way we kind of tried to defend it because it just wasn't working. There was no defending because it was just ball watching. And I think that kind of, to me, kind of showed how the rest of the game potentially might go if we were kind of standing around like that. And don't get me wrong, I kind of agree with what Ricky and what Darren said, that all the players were trying their best. But again, in those kind of split instances, when you're trying to defend a ball like that, you should get your body on the line. And all of those defenders, it just wasn't part of their game plan. And I'm not kind of sure why. So for me, that was a very frustrating one compared to the first goal we conceded.
Rick, let's come to you. After 39 minutes, Heung-min Son had a shot inside the 18-yard box, which went wide. After 41 minutes, Pape Matar Sarr had a shot at the goalkeeper, Alisson dealt with it well. In the same minute, James Maddison got a goal back for us with a glorious strike. McAllister was unhappy with the tackle from Kulusevski, but what a finish from James Maddison. How are you feeling at this point? Because it seemed at this point we're going to go straight back into it. Just before half-time, a great time to score. I know we'll come on to the third goal in a second.
Yeah, no, for me, I was exactly feeling the same as you there, Chris. It's like, as in, like, again, it was never say die attitude. They kept going, and you know they were up for the fight. And when Maddison got that ball, when he scored, the way that he scored it, it was like, come on, let's have it, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Let's go to war with them. And I did think at that point, I was like, all right, and cool. I was actually speaking to a Liverpool friend of mine, Nick, who I was on the film with, and I was saying, do you know what, today, I was like, I said the other day in prediction, I was like 2-1. I was like, but today I kind of feel it's going to be like a 4-4 or a 5-4 or something.
We don't do 2-1s anymore.
I could just see it being one of those. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, and that's what, when Maddison scored, I thought, okay, cool, here we go. And it was a crazy game, but when Maddison scored that, I did think that we was on our way again.
Ricky, how are you predicting 2-1s under Ange Postecoglou right now?
I don't know. I just thought, you know what, with how tired they were after the cup game, I was like, maybe it's going to come down. But then that's what I'm saying. I woke up today and I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a crazy scoreline, and which it was, really.
Rick, let's stay with you, because it was disappointing, the fact that we went in 3-1 at half-time. Szoboszlai, of course, scoring in stoppage time. I feel like Dragushin had to win the header. Of course, Mo Salah, what a fantastic assist from him. And like you said, one of the best players in the world right now. He's on absolute fire. But, you know, it was disappointing to go in at 3-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a punch in the gut just when we got back into the game. And that's why that Sonny miss that you were speaking about earlier, that's why it was really important. And that's what I was trying to say. I think that was the biggest difference for me today was, you know, Salah is in amazing form this season. I think he's scoring every single week or in every single game, or he's affecting the game to make sure somebody else scores or assists. So he's been effective in every single game. He is an absolutely he's stepped it up this year, and he's gone to world elite class level. You know, he's up there right now. And look at that. When he made that darting run, you know, that he had two options to the left, but the way that he kind of cut it back to the right-hand side kind of left everybody kind of second guessing and double looking to go, what just happened? Even me, because I was like, he's going to pass it the opposite way, but he didn't. And so, again, a piece of quality. And for me, it's like I'm not saying that I don't think it's going to come. I just don't think Sonny is in his world-class form right now. There were certain shots and passes today where I think that if he was in his form, if he was 100%, then I think that he scores or he assists, or do you know what I mean? He does something today. But I think he's been, run into the ground and you know, so that was the biggest difference for me today. Our world-class player, he wasn't in world-class form, but theirs was just, and he's just, you know, Salah just keeps pushing.
Darren, before we talk about Liverpool's fourth goal of the game, I just want to talk about Heung-min Son, because, you know, Ricky touched on it there. I feel like whenever Son doesn't score or produce a moment of magic in a game, there is real heavy criticism on our captain. You know, you see so many negative comments about Son, and we know what he can do. Look at the moment of magic that he produced on Thursday. Is it fair? Because the amount of people that I've seen, particularly this season, saying that Son isn't a leader. And I don't know whether you've seen the clips recently in the last couple of weeks, you know, going up to certain players in the tunnel, you know, really geeing them up. You know, when he's subbed off, you know, on the sub bench, he's really talking and shouting to a number of the players. I think a lot of people either don't watch this stuff, or they just want to, you know, not accept that Son is a real leader on the pitch. And
yeah, I don't get that. I don't get how you can coach someone that's done so much for us over the years. You know, he will be. I mean, please God, he wins a trophy with us. Jesus Christ. Yeah. But, you know, whether he does or doesn't, he will go down as, you know, a Spurs legend and one of our better players. And you're right, there are different ways of captaining, aren't there? Not everyone is shouting and screaming and yelling at their team. You know, it's that expression, isn't it? You lead by example, and that's exactly what he does. Don't forget, he's 31 now. You know, he hasn't got the legs that he did when he was a younger player, but he's still out there doing it, and he's got the absolute skills and a football brain, like the likes of which we very, very rarely see at our club. And he's just unbelievable player. I think to coat him like that is just disrespectful, to be honest. Disrespectful.
But he's worked so hard though, Darren. Like literally playing all these games. You know, the South Korea games as well. The travel, it really does take it out of you. And what do you make of the criticism about him not being a leader and somebody else should perhaps be captain? And you know, would you like to see him sign a new deal at Spurs? Because there's lots of reports going out at the moment saying that he wants a long-term deal at the club, and the club don't seem to be too concerned at the moment about offering him a deal because they've got that comfort of having the 1-year extension.
Well, I think that you give it to him. I think he's a phenomenal player, and I don't think that you can just brush off phenomenal players like that. You know, it's like the thing with Ange. You know, if you get rid of Son, what are you going to do? Put Timo in his place? Do me a favour. I think it's disrespectful, and like you say, you know, there are shots of him speaking to Archie Gray. You know, having a word with him, obviously discussing tactics. Pointing things out with him that he sees. So, you know, maybe he doesn't shout and scream at the top of his voice, but he leads by example. And, you know, we don't see what goes on behind closed door. There's a reason that Ange made him the club captain. He deserves it. And like I said, it's disrespectful. It's absolutely disrespectful.
Hollie?
I was just going to say, obviously, don't get me wrong, I love Sonny to bits. He's been an amazing servant for the club. I just think at times, I think he is overworked. And as much as I know Werner is not the man to replace him, I just thought today maybe bring him on a little bit earlier just to give Sonny a bit of a rest to bounce back into the next game. And don't be wrong, Sonny, again, servant for the club. I know he's done so much, and I know he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we as fans don't necessarily see all the time. I just feel for me that a player, if Sonny does sadly leave us at some point, because it will happen, I think the man that's probably better suited for a captaincy role would be Kulusevski. I think that man takes every game by the scruff of his neck. Yes, Sonny plays amazingly, can score amazing goals, but Decky for me is the real. To me, he's just Spurs. He is the man that I think should be leading this team. And don't get me wrong, at the moment maybe not so much because Sonny is still there, but I think when Sonny departs at some point, I feel like Decky would be the man that would come in. And that's just my personal opinion. Don't get me wrong, there's probably people out there, and like you guys said, Sonny is amazing. He does stuff behind the scenes. I just think on the pitch, for me, Sonny doesn't do enough to be a captain. But that's just me personally.
I've got to say, Hollie, I think you're the politest guest that we have on this show. For you to message me saying, can I have my word about Heung-min Son? Because normally the guests just butt in and say their piece. So thank you for that.
What do you mean? What do you mean we're talking about?
Absolutely. Hollie, what did you make of the incident today in the game where Fraser Forster was given the captain's armband and then he took it off and wanted to give it to Kulusevski?
There you go then, man. That's me talking it into existence. I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, at this point, I was fuming, pacing up and down the living room, so I didn't actually see that happen.
Okay.
But yeah, if that has happened, it kind of shows to me that maybe in the camp they already kind of know that Decky's that person that's stepping up, wanting to take on his play. Obviously, we've seen all the interviews with him, and we all know that he's an amazing human being. I just think he's got that fire within him that I feel like Sonny sometimes lacks, because I know people have said it in the comments, he is a lovely and a really nice person, but sometimes you've got to be a bit ruthless, a bit of an egg, a bit of a dickhead sometimes to have that captain armband, and I don't think Sonny's really got that within him, if that makes sense.
Hollie, let's stay with you. Let's talk about Liverpool's fourth goal in the 54th minute. Mo Salah. Liverpool, the counter-attack was absolutely exceptional, I must say. Diaz to Gakpo, Szoboszlai, and then, of course, Salah finishing off. What do you make of this goal, and in particularly from us defensively?
Just cut open, really. There's not much more to say. Again, it was brilliantly worked by Liverpool. That's what they're good at. and they're clinical, and it was literally all of that on a plate against us. Again, I can't remember if this is the one where we see Dragusin being pulled out of position again. It seems to be going a bit gung-ho. I just think, again, what we've spoken about already, it's like Archie and Radu, that they haven't played enough games together, so not really sure how each other works. And you see at times one being pulled out and the other one trying to cover, and it's never really within the same line. They're not really clicking together. But hold my hands up again, it's just well worked by Liverpool, to be honest with you.
Channel regular Kate writes here, 3-6, how is that even possible? I tell you what, I don't think that we've seen the end of 6-3s. We might have one or two more this season, you never know. Ricky, shortly after it was 4-1, Maddison and Sarr went off, Bergvall and Johnson came on. And then in the 61st minute, Liverpool took a 5-1 lead. Szoboszlai crossed to Mo Salah, who tapped in. It just seemed really simple at that point. And I must say, at 61 minutes, so many Spurs fans left the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, probably to go and prepare their turkeys for Christmas early. And they missed the last half hour, missing a number of goals in that last half an hour. What did you make of that fifth goal from Liverpool?
Well, as you speak about the turkey, bro, at that point we got stuffed, didn't we? Do you know what I mean?
Hey.
Do you know what I mean? So it was world-class play, bro. It was world-class play. You know, they've got world-class players. They're playing in a world-class system. It was world-class play. It's like playing against Real Madrid right now with Mbappe and Bellingham and Vinny Jr. Like the football that Liverpool are producing right now is of that level, and that's what we aspire to be. Do you know what I mean? That's where we're going, and that's what we want. You know, to have the squad. I mean, look at some of the play that Trent Alexander-Arnold was coming up with. Some of the crosses, some of the balls, some of the intelligence. The intelligence is just of another level, you know, and we're on our way to that. We've just got to go around the mountain the long way. we're climbing this mountain, but we've got to go around the long way. And, you know, hopefully, like everybody's kind of said, if we can get those right puzzle pieces, as Hollie was talking about, then, you know, then you can judge the manager. Then you can kind of go, all right, this is really not working. If it ain't working, you know, but that fifth goal, I mean, I was still kind of like, it kind of hurt me in my heart, and I was kind of like, okay, cool, that's kind of game done right now. But again, the boys, they weren't having it, and they came back, and they was just like, all right, cool, and they put the ball down, and they tried to make things happen. They just never stopped, you know, and they just continued to go, and regardless of the scoreline, regardless of the clock. And those were things that Ange's, you know, from what we've seen from behind the scenes and stuff in pre-season and stuff like that, those are the things that he wants this team to do. Don't look at the scoreline. Don't look at the clock. Just keep going. It's all about the next action. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. And those boys did. So, you know, it's painful today, but maybe we take that pain and it'll be the making, especially of the younger ones, and especially of this new look squad. It will be the makings of us going forward. Because when we do need to rely on a Bergvall or a Sarr or an Archie Gray, then they're going to be stronger for it and ready to contribute. You know, so it's a tough one, bro. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It did hurt at that point. But when I saw the boys gather together, when I heard the crowd sing, "Come on, you Spurs," and they were still behind us, that's what picked me back up again. And I'm like, nah. Like, that's why I couldn't be angry with them. I know it's a terrible scoreline, you know, but I just couldn't be angry. I'm like, nah, like, let's go. You know, I'm looking at that whole period, you know, the amount of games these boys have had to deal with, you know, and we're threadbare, and they're still putting in that effort. They're still putting in that that type of energy, and you know, yes, it was 5-1, but when I saw the boys rally back, I was back on it. I was like, all right, cool, coming in.
Darren, let's come to you. On 63 minutes, Liverpool with another chance. Trent Alexander-Arnold shooting at Fraser Forster, who made a fantastic save. A minute later, Liverpool had another chance. It was blocked. On 67 minutes, Kulusevski had a shot which went just wide. And then on 72 minutes, Kulusevski scored, making it 5-2. Solanke, what a pass and what a finish from Kulusevski. That is now 7 goals, 7 assists for this season for Kulusevski, 5 in 5 consecutive games. As Hollie and Ricky have already mentioned, what a turnaround in form, what a turnaround in a player in Kulusevski this season. And if there is any time a change in captaincy, I'm sure Kulusevski will be up there. Of course, he is the current captain of Sweden, but what a difference he has made this season for us.
Brilliant. And it's because he's moved him from the right wing into that sort of number 10 position. It's completely changed him. I think he was quite one-dimensional when he first joined us. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, but because he doesn't have a right foot or barely one to speak of, he would always, you'd show him on his right foot and he would cut inside and put a ball in, so or get tackled. I think people sort of found him out quite quickly. But since he has been in that more fluid role, he's absolutely come into his own. And that goal today, I mean, if that would have been the winner, everyone would have been talking about what an unbelievable goal. The cheeky little chip from Solanke and then the volley from Kulusevski was absolutely fantastic. Wonderful. It's just a shame that it was 5-2. So he just got buried amongst our consolation goals. But yeah, absolutely. He's really, really come into his own. What a player he's been. And I hope that, he stays in that role, and I hope that we don't see Son come into the middle of again, because that's not going back to him. That's not where he operates the best. He operates best on the left-hand wing, running at players, cutting inside. And I think if we can keep Son out there and Decky in the middle, I think you're seeing the best out of both of them. But yeah, what brilliant player! That I really think that he should hold that position now. Absolutely, absolutely.
Checkmate 734 says, Chris, are you going to talk about the protests outside the stadium? Already done that. Where have you been? And I also tweeted about it earlier. Hollie, I know that you went to a protest a couple of years ago. What do you make of the protest today? Do you think it's going to change anything?
I think it was a bigger turnout than the one I went to. I think I went to the one during the whole Super League debacle. And obviously it did work in our favour. It didn't go ahead. I think the only way for fans to be able to make a difference is to hear their voices heard in a peaceful way. I know there's lots of talks about having a ticket, then walking out so many minutes within a game, which is fine, but it's so expensive to go to football. And to give up your ticket is great, but not everybody can afford to do that. So I get the sentiment. I just think doing these protests again, to be outside the stadium, to put kind of the board and Daniel Levy in the public eye. We know it's been doing wonders at the moment. We've got obviously like Neville and Carragher talking about it. We've got Sky talking about it. The more kind of media presence that we're having, it's kind of showing a bigger light on it. And I think having people taking a stand in the right kind of way is the best way forward. So yeah, I think there was a more momentum for this process than there was the one that I went to. I just hope that feel like we're all on the same sort of page this year. There's no kind of fragmented. I know there's a lot of people that still leave you in, and some people that obviously aren't, which is fine. But I think if you are feeling that way, good to have your voices shown. I think this is the best kind of way to do it in a unison kind of form, if that makes sense.
I think it's fair to say, though, Hollie, that a number of fans want things to be different this time around, because we've seen so many managers come and go at the football club. And when you talk about the real quality of managers, the win now managers even, and the real quality of players that have come in the door, they've left without winning a trophy. I just feel like it has to be different under Ange Postecoglou this time around. And, with the transfer windows, I know it's very easy for fans just to sit here and say, oh, we need to go out and spend hundreds of millions of pounds. It's got to be right. The recruitment's got to be right. You mentioned earlier about the players that we've signed and they weren't the right players. It just needs to be different this time around, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the thing is, we could all have that argument where we have spent money in terms of, obviously, Ndombele is a prime example, and that never went through the right motions. And don't get me wrong, that might not be 100% down to recruitment, but it could also be down to the player. But it's things like that. When it happens once, you're like, fine, cool, whatever. But when you've kind of got this same kind of feeling of go and try and get youth, hopefully maybe it works, isn't really the right way forward. But for me, I think it's coming to a head now. And it has been previously, but then we'd go on a good run of form and it kind of died down a bit. But for me, the biggest thing that I saw in recent weeks was obviously when we went to Southampton and we were winning and there were fans still singing that. I feel like we're all on the same kind of page. We all want more. We don't want players like another Harry Kane come through the doors and leave with nothing. When we've had star quality like that, we've got nothing to show for it. And I feel like now is the right kind of time. We've got, in my personal opinion, I know it's not for everyone, and for me is the right person to take this club to the next kind of level. If he's got that investment behind him, if he gets what he wants, and then I don't know, say next year it doesn't quite work out, at least we can say and be like, actually, he was back this. And I think that's the biggest problem we've kind of had in past managers. We've had these managers through the door, they get their second, third, fourth, fifth choice and who they want in. But yeah, I think it's going in the right direction. Very pleased with the kind of turnout today, and hopefully, again, it's picked up more by the media, because I think the biggest problem last time was it was so fragmented. There was no real kind of cohesion, whereas this time I think there's more people that have had enough. If that makes sense. And if it's collated properly in a good manner, in the right way, then good things can come out of it.
Ricky, let's come to you. Let's go back to the game. After 76 minutes, Liverpool had another chance for Luis Diaz. And Fraser Forster come rushing out of his goal. And I feel like he put Luis Diaz off, made him shoot early. And then, of course, he shot over the bar. So full marks to Fraser Forster there. 4 minutes later, Liverpool with another chance over the bar. Just a couple of seconds later, Trent Alexander-Arnold, a goal, Forster saving. A minute later, Liverpool with another couple of shots, another couple of blocks from the Tottenham Hotspur defence. I'll tell you what, we talk about all these Liverpool chances and the stats that I put on the screen earlier. It could have been so many more than 6 today. Yeah,
of course it could, but they stood up. Do you know what I mean? And it could have been more than 6 just because after 5 you'd collapse and you'd be like, what's the point? But they didn't. They continued to fight, you know. It's a tough one for Big Fraser. You know, Chris, I don't know. You have played in goal before. I don't know whether you've ever, like, when you was playing in goal, did you ever have a game where it kind of knocked your confidence and then going into the next game it was still on your brain? But
yeah.
But please, all right, please talk to us about it, because we could see, like you said there, first 3 minutes, he gave the ball from a pass back, he gave the ball to Salah. So to me, that is still ringing in his brain that Thursday night. So Chris, tell me from your point of view.
Well, I think whatever level you play any sport in, if you've made a mistake, you need to clear that from your head immediately and not even think about it. But it's only human instinct to have that plan in your mind. I could probably reverse that question to you and say, if you were live on a stage and you delivered the wrong lines or forgot your lines, that would play on your mind, would it not?
Yeah. It would play in the brain, but I think there's that massive determination to try not to make that mistake again and to try and go out there and make the next one better. But I just felt that with Fraser today, it was still ringing in him. It was still ringing in him, you know.
I feel though with Fraser Forster, he's come in, and I feel like there was so much criticism even before he'd played a minute of football to replace Vicario, and he's come in, and I think he's really surprised everyone. I feel like a lot of us can just forget those mistakes that he made in that Manchester United game. Yes, the decision making could have and should have been better in that game, but I tell you now, you know, after 3 minutes when you're playing the ball out to Mo Salah of all players, that probably did play on his mind. But you know, I chose to talk about this incident of him rushing out because had he have not rushed out, and that is very much a Vicario type thing as well, had he have not rushed out and put him off, then it would have been another goal, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where you've got to give it to him because you can tell, like, it might still be ringing in his head, but he's not down in tools. He's still up for the fight. Do you know what I mean? And he still tried to make it to make a difference at that point in the game, you know? So big up to Big Fraser. You know, again, it's about how you look at things, right? So for me personally, I was really worried about Fraser. I saw the Coventry game, and then I saw a game in Europe, and he looked shaky to me, and he really worried me being in goal. I was looking at some of the footwork, and I was like, I don't know about this because of the way that we play. You know, it worried me. It did. And then when Vicario is out for as long as he's out for, I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do here. But he caught a run of games, and then arguably, recently, up until Thursday, recently he's been like one of the best performers in the team recently.
Yeah.
So I've got to give him that. And it's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to look at those first couple of games when he was playing and go, he looked a bit of a calamity, I don't want him, or do you want to give him credit for all of the games that he was great for, but he's had a shaky one the other night? So you've got to give him a bit of credit because he's still standing, and give him credit for all of the good things. And that now, as supporters, we've got to support him through it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got to sing his name. We've got to let him know how much we appreciate the good moments in his game, and quickly can we return to those good moments.
An interesting point. On 82 minutes, Son went off and Timo Werner came on, and that is where I've written down a number of more Spurs fans left the stadium. I don't know whether it was because Timo Werner was coming on, or many probably thought that we weren't coming back from the game. Probably a mixture of both, actually.
Was that Richard? Was Richard off?
But interestingly, the point that I made earlier, Fraser Forster was made captain at that point, and then later on, when we conceded the next goal, he actually gave the armband to Kulusevski. So at that point, it's funny how you mentioned that, Ricky, about the confidence. He probably felt that he shouldn't be captain and Kulusevski should be. Darren, let's come to you on talking about Dominic Solanke's goal, our third, making it 5-3 at this point. Crazy game, as I say. Johnson header to Dominic Solanke, good finish with the left foot. And I feel like Dominic Solanke is a player that probably we as a podcast haven't praised enough this season. And most importantly, the Spurs fan base probably hasn't praised him enough, because he's off the ball running. He's worked for the team. He's simply sensational. And it's so nice to see him score a couple of goals, because, of course, strikers are so often judged on their numbers.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he is there to do a job, and that job is to score goals. But when he's creating and working his arse off for everyone else and assisting, then that's all you can wish for, really. I mean, obviously, for me personally, I think his numbers could do with coming up. I think I wouldn't sit here and say he scores enough goals, because 10 goals now. There you go. But I think that personally, I'd like to see him score more. But like you say, his work rate for the team and what he does when he hasn't got the ball is phenomenal. So absolutely, really, really good. And the amount of goals where he has been in that position right in front of goal, that number 9, where we didn't have before. And he was there. He's always been there for tap-ins. We saw it against Man U the other night. If the goalie parries it away, he's there to pick up the pieces, and we haven't had that in a long while. So absolutely, I think he was a really good buy.
I know I mentioned this earlier. I'm going to mention it again. At that point, when we were 5-3 down against Liverpool, the fans were singing Ange Postecoglou's name, and I think that says a lot about Postecoglou. Absolutely,
and Ricky said it a few times tonight, and I would agree. We've got this. Look, it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. We've got this gung-ho, mentality that people are saying, he's got no game management, and he doesn't know how to sit on a lead and how to defend. But the converse side of that is that when you are like 5-2 down, if you keep on going, bloody hell, you may get the draw. Right, didn't happen today, but you may get. What are you going to do? Just sit there and not press forward? And as Ricky said, the mentality with this team and Ange is to carry on going and to keep trying to score a goal, not to sit back. And yes, it's it can be suicidal at times, but I was WhatsApping my friends, and I thought, here we go, 5-5, and then when it was 6-3, I thought, was it 6-6? Is it? But you've got to keep on going, and I think it's a testament to what Ange does. And all right, I'm repeating myself, but if you get rid of the guy now, who's to say the next manager isn't going to be a Conte? I want to play the absolute antithesis of this style of football, to sit back and to just try and defend from deep. Stick with him. I like this mentality. I'm like it. And I genuinely thought, bloody hell, if we get, because there was loads of time left on the clock, Chris, don't forget. I thought, if we get another goal here, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Hollie, let's come to you. Let's talk about Luis Diaz's Liverpool's sixth goal. Great finish from him. He should have been in a Spurs shirt, shouldn't he? We were odds on to buy him at one point.
It's always the way, isn't it? To be honest with you, there were so many bloody goals going in at this point. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm done. As much as obviously you had that kind of feeling that you probably we might come back and do it. It was just the final nail in the coffin for me. But again, just proves what we said all night. Like Liverpool were just miles above us with our tired legs. And again, like I say, it's not an excuse. It's just how it is at the moment.
Right, so of course this was the final game before Christmas. Our next game takes place on Boxing Day against Nuno Espirito Santo's Nottingham Forest, who are currently in the top 4.
I will make you proud. I will make you proud.
He actually said the word proud yesterday as well, but I didn't ever think that I'd be saying Nuno Espirito Santo's team, Nottingham Forest, would be sitting in the top 4. They're sitting in the top 4 for the first time in the Premier League for 30 years. Unbelievable. Head to head, we played Forest 14 times in Premier League history. Spurs winning 7, Forest winning 6, and one of them finishing as a draw. Craig Paulson will referee this game on Boxing Day. The fourth official will be Dean Whitestone and VAR Michael Salisbury. Now, last season, we beat Forest twice. The season before, we beat Forest twice. So the last 4 meetings, 4 Spurs wins. Ricky, let's come to you on this, first of all, because Forest have played 17 so far in the Premier League, won 9, drawn 4, lost 4. They've scored 23, let in 19. They have a goal difference of +4. They have 31 points. Now, during December, they lost 3-0 against City. They then beat Manchester United 3-2 away. They beat Aston Villa 2-1 at home. And only yesterday, they beat Brentford, who have an exceptional home record in the Premier League, and they went to Brentford and beat them 2-0. How are you expecting this game to go on Boxing Day?
Well, firstly, you've got to big them up, and you've got to big up Nuno as well. And it just shows you that some managers do fit some teams, and Nuno fits at Nottingham Forest right now, and he's getting the best out of that squad. You've got to remember how much money they spent on that squad, and it's taken them a while to kind of bed in and find their feet, but under Nuno they have, and well done to them. They're in momentum right now. They've got energy, they've got momentum, they've got belief because they're getting results. They've had a lot more time off, obviously. Do you know what I mean? Because we've had a ton more games, but they're in good form, and Nuno's going to want to win against us just to kind of. To prove all of us doubters wrong. But I still believe it was the right decision at that time. I didn't think that Nuno fitted Tottenham Hotspur, the team, the tactics, the way that we wanted to play, the way that we wanted to watch football. I just didn't think it fit. But he's definitely a great fit for Nottingham Forest. Again, I think that it's going to be a barnstormer. I think it's going to be another one where we go for the throat and I believe that we're going to come out on top because I always believe my team's going to come out on top. But I do think it's going to be a bit of a barnstorm. I think it's going to be another high-scoring game. I think it'll be back and forth, but I see Tottenham coming out victorious.
Go on then.
What's that?
Give us your score prediction then. What are we going for? 3-2? 4-3? 5-4?
Oh, goodness. Have you frozen or have I frozen? Who's frozen?
Not us.
Was it me?
No.
I didn't hear you. Go on in, Chris. What did you say? What was your last question?
What's your score prediction then?
All right. I'm gonna go 4-2 Tottenham.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Darren, do you agree?
No. I'm worried. I'm worried about this one because they've lost 1 and won 4 out of their last 5. They are an absolute 4. And Nuno would have watched this today, and he would know that we're down to our bare bones. And if he can target, Gray and drag us in, and I don't know. I'm worried. I'm worried. They've got some great players. Chris Wood has scored 10 goals. Mofo, well, wow. Chris Wood has scored 10 goals for them. You got great Alangi, Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs White. You got some great players there.
I love this research, Darren.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit worried. I would take a 2-2 up there. I would take a 2-2.
They've got a pretty decent squad, Hollie, haven't they?
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to it, but with Spurs' true fashion, when we obviously, I know City are in a bit of a dump at the moment, but we go there and absolutely play them off the park. We seem to play teams that we should, I know today's an anomaly, that we shouldn't be beating, and we do. But I am also very worried about this game, especially it being at their gaff as well. So I'm going to sit. I never like saying that we're going to lose, but I honestly think it could be 3-2 or 3-1 to Forest. And I don't want it to be because it's Boxing Day, but it's going to be a difficult one, I feel.
Johnson scoring a hat-trick, man. Come on, man. Johnson's back. He's going to score a hat-trick just to say thank you, Nottingham, you know what I mean, for having me. Come on, Hollie. Come on, girl.
Do you know, when I met up with a number of friends at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on a Thursday, a number of them, we were going through score predictions, and they all said, Chris, what do you think? And my reply was, I have no idea. This could go any way, and it could be any scoreline. And, of course, who would have predicted a 4-3 on Thursday? Now, a number of people asked me today, what do you think today? And I said, I have no idea. This could be anything. And, of course, it's ended up 6-3. So I'm sorry to duck out of the score predictions. My same answer. It could be anything. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. Yeah. Can we end on favourite moment of 2024? Spurs, either a game or a moment that a player has produced. And lastly, predictions for 2025. Who wants to go first? Ricky, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think the best moment so far of 2024 is us getting to a semi-final. I mean, it's an easy one, but we're into a semi-final against all the odds. With a threadbare, threadbare squad up against it. But we're through. We're through, and that game the other night was a crazy one, and we shot ourselves in the foot as we've done for years. Sometimes we're our own biggest enemy. You know what I mean? And that's a Spurs trait that we've had for years. That ain't on our hands. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes we'll throw the ball in the back of the net just to make it interesting. But we're through. So we're through to a semi-final. So, you know, with all of the ups, downs, and the lefts and the rights, right now, in the present moment, I'm going to say to have a semi-final to look forward to go on this trophy run and to go on this trophy hunt, I think is going to be exciting. We've still got Europe to come. So my 2025 prediction is we're going to be smiling come the end of the season. Regardless of what happens right now, we're going to be smiling come the end of the season. And I can't wait to have another semi-final against the madness that is Liverpool. What is that home and away result? That's going to be 2 legs. How many goals are going to be scored in that? That's going to be mental. But that's what I'm looking forward to.
I feel like that semi-final, though, Ricky, can be very, very different because their focus surely will be on the Premier League and the Champions League. And, of course, a number of our players could be back as well. So those encounters could be very, very different. Yeah, let's wait and see. Darren?
I would say the City result for me. I know that they were in decline, but I thought to go up there and to put 4 past them was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, that was just, I couldn't believe that. Couldn't believe that. Some of our, and up at Old Trafford as well. Bloody hell. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible results. Absolute scenes. So my prediction for 2025, I reckon if we can get a Champions League spot, that'll be amazing. That'll be amazing. And have a trophy along the way. There you go. How's that? A trophy and a Champions League spot.
Okay. Yeah. I take it by winning the Europa League rather than league position, yeah?
Well, there you go. I would take any of them. I would take any of that, Chris. Europa League, yeah. Who is it? Is it Gary says? Gary says, he's the one that says we're going to win the Europa League. So absolutely.
Go on, you were going to go into impression mode. Then go for it. Go on.
I was dipping my toe in the water, but I thought no, it's going to involve a choice word, and I don't want to do that.
I'll tell you the only prediction I'll give you is plenty of goals scored and plenty of goals conceded. There's a prediction for you. That might just come true. Hollie, what about you?
I don't want to copy Darren, but it's the fact that Manchester is owned by Tottenham this season. I think is the biggest thing for me. Obviously, beating United, then obviously Guyana City, especially after we played so poorly against Ipswich, to then bounce back and just blow City off the park with that 4-0 win. And then, 2025 prediction, anything, to be honest with you, and a trophy. Has to be a trophy. I really, really want a trophy. Europa, like we've kind of alluded to with Gary and stuff, I think that has to be the one we have to go for. Not saying it's going to be an easy one to get. I just think it's the more realistic one, if that kind of makes sense. That's my predictions.
Well, Hollie, thank you so much for joining us today and throughout the year. You've been a great guest throughout 2024. Thank you so much for all of your input. Where can people find you on social media, and how will you be spending Christmas?
No, thank you for having me. It's always a fun time to be on here, Chris. It's nice to be answering the questions rather than asking them. So thank you. But you can find me on YouTube at Hollie's Hot Spurs, or on Twitter at Hollie Agombar. Talking Spurs really. And then Christmas, I've got the family round. I'm making sure everybody's wearing Spurs shirts for the game on Sunday. So that's how I'm spending Christmas. But I hope everybody that's watching, and you guys as well, have a lovely Christmas too.
Hollie, thank you so much. And Ricky, big thank you to you. You've given up hours upon hours this year talking about Spurs, so thank you so much. Have a great Christmas. Where can people find you? Tell everyone about your new film that's going to be coming out next year, and I take it you'll be drinking lots and being very merry on the 25th of December.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never drink. I like tea and I like toast, and I don't know what you're talking about. So, always an honor and a pleasure being on. It's great to talk football, and it's great to talk Tottenham, win, lose or draw, with you beautiful people on the screen right now, and with all of you around the world. So thank you very much. I just finished filming a Christmas movie. It's called Jingle All the Sleigh. It's as if John Wick had Christmas. There's loads of fun, frolics, and there's loads of energy going on. They've got me doing some madness, so I look forward to seeing it cut up and edited. But that will be out in 2025. So, this time next year, it should be out somewhere, whether it's cinemas or streaming, it will be somewhere, and I'll let you know when I know. But in the meantime, if you want a Christmas movie to watch, on Netflix right now is the Princess Switch trilogy. So there's Princess Switch number 1. I'm not in that, but watch it. It establishes the world. And then I'm in number 2 and number 3. So if you want to see me in a Christmas movie over Christmas period, check that out on Netflix right now. And you guys know where you can find me. Not only will I be here chatting Tottenham with the man, the myth, the legend that is Chris, but you can find me on X at Ricky J Norwood, on Instagram at official Ricky Norwood. And it's mostly on Instagram where I post loads about the films and stuff that I'm doing work-wise. X is mostly about Tottenham. So, jump in, jump on. And like I say, Merry Christmas to all of you beautiful people around the world. You guys are amazing. Win, lose, or draw, you guys are amazing. And I'm sending you much love. It's not about the Christmas presents. It's not about how much is spent. It's about being with good people, good energy, and sharing that love amongst us, because the world can be crazy. It can be it can be as crazy as that game today. So appreciate the ones you love. Appreciate those people that are there for you. Win, lose, or draw in life. And just share the love and have a big smile on your face. Sending you all big love.
Ricky, thank you so much. Have a great one. And Darren, where can people find you, and what you'll be up to?
Yeah, so Christmas Day, it's 13 here, Christmas Day.
Wow.
We're all doing the cooking. Like my friend Lou's bringing the turkey over, Sonny's bringing the gammon. I'm doing all the veg. I'm going to prep all that tomorrow and get all the potatoes ready and all that. So 13 of us.
So that's why you mentioned the veg. You are a vegetable expert.
Parboil the potatoes, half an hour, and then you add all the rosemary and garlic and sage and stuff. Because if you put it in at the beginning, it will just catch and burn. So put it in halfway through. There you go. You're welcome. And I'm on TikTok at Darren Altman, and Instagram at Darren Altman _VO. I don't really use Twitter anymore. I'm just bored of it. Can't be bothered. So yeah, Instagram and TikTok really. And yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone, and Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for your commitment, man, because it's insane what you do. I tell all my friends, so this guy, not only does he go to every Spurs game home and away, he goes to the under-21s, the Spurs women, under-18s. He flies all around the world to Australia and Taiwan to the pre-season. You don't appreciate what this guy does. So we love you, Chris, and thanks ever so much. Brilliant.
Thank you. Many people would call it madness, like today's game, but yeah, we love it. We love it. We love following Tottenham, and thank you so much for all of your input, Darren, throughout 2024. You've been absolutely fantastic. So, Ricky, Darren, Hollie, thank you so much for all of your time today, particularly after talking about another defeat. And I know we have spoken, all four of us have spoken about a number of defeats on this channel over the years. Yeah. It's not easy. But have a great Christmas, everyone. Thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching throughout 2024. We will be back for another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast when hopefully Spurs have beaten Nuno Espirito Santo's Nottingham Forest on Boxing Day. Have a great Christmas. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.